Let's do it. Think we're good to go. What's up, everybody in the chats? Thanks for stopping by for VR news, at least the stories that I want to talk about. And I'm here today with Victoria. Say hi, Victoria.
Hello, everyone.
All right, we're jumping right into it today, guys. You can see down at the bottom, if you want to join the chat for any topics that we're going over, shoot me a message on Discord. Let me know what topic it is. That way I know which one you want to join. I will not guarantee to get to anyone or everyone. It will depend on time and if I feel like we want to stick on a topic any longer. So no promises on that. But we're going to jump right into topic number one. Topic number one, we're going to talk about Superhot, guys. And with Superhot, a little background before we get into it. So Superhot VR, if you're in the chat, you know what it is. It is OG perennial showcase VR game. It is one of the top 5 that when somebody tells you, hey, I want to try VR, you list off a few games: Beat Saber, Superhot, Lone Echo. These are games that someone's going to start with first. In this game, at certain times in the game, it would ask you to prove your worth, show your dedication, and discard your body, which in that game, what that meant is put a gun to your head and pull it. And that was a game mechanic. On July 21st, so just a few days ago, the developers made a change and released this following statement, which I'll read verbatim. Skip disturbing scenes toggle was added in a previous update. Considering sensitive time we're living in, we can do better than that. You deserve better. All scenes alluding to self-harm are now completely removed from the game. These scenes have no place in Superhot virtual reality. We regret it took so long, and we are committed to shipping this update to all VR platforms. So, you could imagine what happened, everybody. I don't think it's any secret. It got review bombed. Now, the topic of Superhot getting review bombed, and if they deserved it or not, is not what I want to speak about. That is not the news that I care about. The news that I care about, actually, I think it's actually a really, really good example, and them doing this raises 10 other better discussions than is this SJW politics, is this okay? There's really big implications to this, in my mind, down the road, just from high concept even to practicality. The first thing I want to bring up is the review bombing aspect of it, and I'll tag Blastin on that. And Victoria, this will be the topic I want to talk about first. We need to define review bombing. I feel like whenever a game developer, something makes a choice that the general public is not happy about, it gets reviewed. And every media outlet calls it review bombing. Victoria, to you, what is review bombing? Is people voicing their opinions on something actual review bombing, or is this what reviews are meant to be for?
Yeah, see, that's a tricky subject. Because, and this is anecdotal, but between me and all of my friends, we only review things when we have an extremely passionate opinion either way, whether it's extremely positive or extremely negative. Now, I feel that for as many people to go out of their way to actually write a review, they must feel extremely passionately about that. Now, is them as a group going to do this right or wrong morally? I mean, it really depends. Do you think that people should not voice their opinions if it's negative? Should we engage in toxic positivity? I mean, this is toxic negativity, you know what I mean? But it's a spectrum, right?
Yes.
Like, which way do we want to go?
We don't have many options. So as a consumer, it's like, I'm a consumer, you're a consumer. If a choice is made on something that we've purchased that we're not happy with, you have two options. Sit down on it, grin and bear it, take it, or you voice your opinion. If voicing your opinion is what you choose to do, I really get a distaste in my mouth calling it review bombing. Because review bombing, when I read that as a headline, implies that it's unfair. I don't think anyone specifically, like Upload VR, used review bombing in an article title. In no way did they allude that it was negative. Full benefit of the doubt there. They never said it was negative. They just are using the term. But the term and how it's used in the headline is immediately a negative spin. Like that is entirely unjust. I am not a fan of the review bombing because I think the topics are a little more nuanced than just black and white. However, I think they are entitled to give their review. The game has changed. Their opinion has changed. Whatever the reason, you don't need to agree with the reason, but they have a change in mindset and they will now review the game differently. It's not review bombing in my mind, and I'm really over the phrase review bombing. I don't have to agree with them doing it. I don't agree with it, but it is their voice. They have a change of opinion on the game. We need to change that term because it shouldn't be negative. It is a review based on a change of a game. That's all it is. And I think that's an important distinction to make. It's something that my viewers, people on Twitter who I interact with, I think it gets lost in this sometimes on the bad versus good. It's not bad versus good. It's much more different, and the game was changed. They're going to change the review. I think that's fair, personally. But
I do as well. I mean, I'm a game developer and a gamer, right? So as a lazy gamer, as I said before, I have to be extremely passionate either way in order to even go out of my way, right? But as a game developer, if I have that many people giving me the same feedback, I'm going to listen in some type of way. Maybe, not bring it back into the game exactly as it was, perhaps bring it back as some other kind of downloadable feature that you could get somewhere down the road. But at least, give people the option, because obviously they voiced that they wanted the option. Yeah. And this is coming from someone who is consistently suicidal myself, and you know this. I am a sad bitch. So for me to say this, it's kind of a big deal considering the subject matter that they removed from the game. But I still think that if the player wants it, we should give it to them as developers, you know? Maybe not generally, but yeah.
Yep. I think Flame Souls made a great point right now, and it's also something I was thinking about. He says that only negative reviews get called review bombing. It's no different than positive reviews on release. If it's good or bad, newer updated reviewers will come. And something to think about. So when these, let's go back to earlier OG Steam VR days. When a Steam VR game launched in early access, the community would demand or ask, we want this, we want that. No different than Larcenauts right now, where people wanted manual reloads and wanted things like that. The reviews changed when the developers added what the community wanted. And in droves, the score of Larcenauts at launch went from 3.5, I think it's about a 4.2 in the Oculus Store, give or take a 0.1 or 0.2 there. It changed due to a change the developers did positively. Now they do something that the community didn't like. It gets bombed. Like we said, I don't know if I fully like the tantrum of review bombing it in droves to prove a point, but at the same time, the developers now made a change. If it was a positive change, they probably would have got new positive ratings. It was a change people didn't like, they get negative. Cut the shit on review bombing being a negative term. It is just a negative term because it just happened to be, it went down at that time. But hell, they could have put in another page that just said, hey, we're going to put all the most sensitive shit in this game and you can do whatever you want. It could have got review bombed positively. It just depends how you spin the term. You know what I mean?
100%.
In my opinion, the game isn't worth a 1 star based on this decision, but I'll fight to the death for your right to change your 1 to 1 star. I don't care. It's your right. I'm on your side. It's your right. But putting aside the review bomb discussion, what I really liked about this discussion, this choice of the developer, and the conversation I don't see getting raised enough, I tweeted about it today. What's the agency of the artist in this scenario? So for example, when I was gaming early on, like original Xbox, when I bought a game, I bought the disc, that was the game. I just bought a game. That's it. It was a fixed good. I bought that game. I never thought about it as an art form. I just didn't. It was a game to play. Now, as games become more and more digital, it can be changed at any time for any reason, right?
Yeah.
So it raises questions. This is not a statement on my green side, but it raises questions. Do developers have the right to do anything at any time for their game? Are we buying a product that's a fixed good from when we buy it? Or are we buying a live service? We're basically buying the live creative art of the artist. Where's that line blur? Like, what are we owed as a consumer when things are going much more digital? What are we owed from our original purchase? That's the question that I don't see people, like, we're talking about it, but it gets diluted with the SJW part of it. But what are we going to?
Okay, so I don't want to get into the SJW
please
part
don't,
of it.
But I
do want to get into the gamer part of it. Okay, so you mentioned that you started gaming around the original Xbox. Well,
before that.
Okay.
That was just an example.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Because I was about to say, you of all fucking people, no. Like, my first video game and my first console was the original NES, and from that point forward, I collected video games. And I loved putting my consoles right next to each other in chronological order and seeing that evolution, right? And this is like a completely different way of playing and buying games than it was when I first started. Because when you bought fucking consoles and when you bought CDs before 2000, guess what? What you bought was what you got. Yes. So if the developer decided to ship a fucking buggy ass game, guess what? Forever, you will have that same buggy ass game. You know?
Yes.
After the 2000s, that's when we started being able to patch them through the internet, and that has created a completely different way that game developers ship and maintain games, right? Because it's really maintenance.
Yes.
So I don't know, again, as a gamer, having lived through this evolution, I actually really appreciate the maintenance of games. That's actually what I personally do. With my NFTs that are digital, I maintain them and I change them over time because why not?
Mhm.
You know, you're afforded the opportunity to give the player a completely new experience each time.
Yes.
So just give them more bang for their buck, you know?
It's an
Just
interesting
me.
concept too, because as games are live service esque, where you can keep adding features and adding things. Well, if we're
Mhm.
adding, like generally, I'll use Larcenauts as an example. They are adding a lot of stuff recently, and they are all pretty much what the community has wanted, so they're getting positive reception off of it. But they could be one change away that wasn't asked for that negatively impacts someone's experience. It's at this point, it's not the same game you bought anymore. Sometimes though, when it's a game like that, people just brush it off. It's like the meta changes no matter what. It's just changing. But then you hit certain topics, like what Superhot did, that's going to get a little more heated and people get a lot more emotional about it. But there's this fine line. What are we going to get to the point where games are more art and you're in for the journey of the artistic vision of it, or does the artist, or are you buying into that, but at the same time the artist owes you the ability to go backwards? So if you choose to go to vanilla, you can now go back to vanilla. Is there a responsibility on both sides that we're now understanding that we're buying art, but the developer maybe owes us something for it?
Two things.
Okay.
Number one, to me, the moment that I knew that video games were art was when I played The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Now,
Yeah.
nobody could sit here and tell me that that game is not a fucking masterpiece. That's I just
You're on the internet,
want to put that
right?
out there.
Someone will disagree with you.
Oh yeah, yeah, but they're lying anyway. That being said, the artist does not owe anyone shit. That's point blank. You create a thing, and really, no one owes anyone shit, whether they're an artist or not. Okay, that's just humanity 101. You are not owed shit. No one owes you shit, and that's just the way it is. If an artist decides creatively that they want to continue to serve their
Mhm.
collectors or their buyers or their players or whatever word you want to use, then that's a personal choice and it's more indicative of that artist than it is anything else. But really, no one is owed shit.
Does that mentality though change, just to give a little, not a pushback, but in the games of a disc, a cartridge, or something like that, we knew, like, there's people like you and I right now, and there's people in this chat probably who grew up with disc cartridge, things like that, and when you bought it, we owned it. But no one ever, there's never been rules, there's never been an agreed upon anything of when things started going digital. What do I own when I buy the game? And just for a little bit of the story, so for Superhot guys, putting aside thoughts, one of the comments the developer made is that he did say that the original edgy story spawned from their own depression. I'm going to read this verbatim here. He said that he feels like the suicide missions, excuse me, my page just went down. My suicide missions are far too manipulative in VR, and that they made the game nearly impossible to work for on the team. So basically, he made a statement that it basically ruined development of the game to them. So I like your point in a way that no one owes me shit, because I'm a hard ass at work the same way. No one owes me shit. But there's a fine line between their ideals. Like, how would this ever fly on a game that I bought on a disc? Like, it wouldn't, because they can't do it, right? But then if they sold a digital copy, so say they sold a digital copy and a hard copy at the same time, hard copy is not going to be updatable. Why don't they owe me the same luxury as the hard copy as the digital? That's the question. See, it's the rules changed, but we never had an agreed upon consensus of, did we agree to that? And there might not be an answer, but I think this is the conversation we should be having around Superhot, not screw it, they should keep it the same. Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah,
there's deeper shit here.
I agree. I mean, see, these days I feel like that argument is invalid simply because if you do buy a hard copy of a game, like a disc, like you still put it into the console and the console still needs to download updates from the internet. Like they're one and the same at this point, you know? I don't feel like I'm getting the full experience of a game when I buy the disc itself. Like I will buy the disc as a collector,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I just like to collect them and see them physically because it makes my heart really happy. But like I'm not collecting it because I expect that physical item to be the end all be all, you know? Like since it's 2021, everything's been digital for so long, and
Yes.
you and I we've been, like downloading like updates for our games for the last like I don't know, like 15 or so years at least. Like this is just kind of the way it is now. Like the you buy a game as is, that paradigm is dead and buried.
Mm, yeah. So the final thing for the Super Hot one, kind of a dual question. One, in your opinion, is it okay that they did this change? And irrational. Well, and we'll do part one first, then go into part two because this is the harder question. Is it okay?
I mean, as a developer and as the artist, anything goes with your art. You do whatever your heart's content. So yeah, I think it is okay. That point blank.
Okay. And then the second part of that would be their decision is okay. What are the ramifications, though, of scenes like this in VR? There's the real question. Is it actually, because I'm not I'm a 31-year-old. I have a 31-year-old brain with unique experiences, unique thoughts, and plenty of history. 13-year-olds can use a VR headset. I don't know what the hell a 13-year-old brain is these days because I wasn't a 13-year-old in 2021. It's well different than when I was a 13-year-old, whenever that was.
Yeah.
Were the developers right that this could be a slippery slope?
I think so. Simply because when you're in VR, it's a full body experience, man. It really is. It's completely different from Pancake. You are in there. That's why I love it. That's why I'm literally in this scene right now dressed up as Ari, like because I want to live this. So obviously, for certain people, having that experience, it would be quite a visceral experience for them, and it
Mm-hmm.
could be quite traumatic. I understand that, and I do think that they are okay in making this choice, and that they made the choice for the right reasons.
Okay. Yeah. My 2 cents on them doing it is I'm fully with them on their right to do it. Personally, I don't agree. I think it should be in there, even if it's immersive. I look back, just an example of where I'm coming from. No Russians. No Russians on Modern Warfare 2. Most people know what that game, that level is. If you don't, guys, you're in an airport and you kill everybody. Everybody. Normal airport. This isn't like Russia airport with like KGB coming at you. It's an airport. That was originally something you played through no matter what. Then they made it where you could toggle it on or off through that level. I don't know if they ever made it completely out. It's been a long time since I played that game, but I specifically remember that game. And when the first time I played that level, I did kill everybody. I did it because I thought if I didn't, that it would like alert them in game because I was thinking in my kid brain that this AI would know, hey, you're not killing innocent people, you're not with me, therefore level's over. So I went with it. And spoiler alert, it's a setup. They already know you're not in that level, and they kill you at the end. Profoundly changed my mindsets in a good way. It made me think things through more. That emotionally hit me very hard. That I can't just let the game guide me where it wants me to. Sometimes I can make my own choice in the game, and I can think through my actions, and that was really powerful. Like now, granted, I don't think you had the ability. Yeah, you could skip it, so you still had to. You would still have to make that choice in Superhot, but that choice is powerful. And I can't imagine how powerful that would be if No Russians was in VR. What the hell would that have done to my mind on showing me how I can make a choice? I don't have to do what the game tells me to do. I can make my choice. And that was powerful. So personally, I think they should have kept it in the game for that reason. I think it was a great teachable moment. Then unfortunately, I think people are losing. I don't know if you're laughing because you agree or find it funny.
No, I'm laughing because everything you're saying sounds like it's straight out of one of my favorite games of all time called The Stanley Parable. Have you played that
I have
game?
not. I don't know that game.
Do it. Because what you said practically came right the fuck out of that game.
Really?
But yes, dude. Yes, dude. You're gonna love this game. Find it on Steam like after this stream. You will thank me later.
I'll do
Um,
it. It's these. Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I do agree with you. I just, in my personal opinion, I would add it as a separate mode.
How would you help a new user navigate that new mode so they know to even try that? You know, how would you educate them enough when the game starts to know they have the option to have a profound experience like that without spoiling 3 steps ahead?
In the menu.
Okay, so they'd have to spell it out.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to see these like gaming moments are pretty impactful to kids. They are. That it's one of the first, like they're not going to go see, well they can, but going to a rated R movie when you're 13s, it's a little more difficult. You can go to a GameStop, they're not asking your damn age there. They'll sell you any game you want as long as you come in cool, calm, and collected. It's like getting ID'd at a bar. You can get away with a lot if you come in with some confidence. But kids have access to these games that are going to give them the most profound experiences that they love to watch and love to experience and be part of. And I'd like to give them options to skip it if they don't want to do it and educate them, but to not even have the opportunity for some of these experiences that I specifically remember No Russians changing my mind for the better. It's unfortunate, and I don't want to see this type of hard topics kind of whitewashed over time. But I also don't want to spend the entire time of this stream on this one topic. I do also want to get into Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, his recent interviews with talking about the metaverse. So, platformers Casey Newton interviewed Mark Zuckerberg and his plans for everything in the next future, and he's got a big focus on the metaverse and Facebook's strategy. As for the metaverse, I did want to quote him here. He said, "You can think about it as the successor to the mobile internet, and it's certainly not something that any company is going to build, but I think a big part of our next chapter is going to hopefully be contributing to building that in partnership with a lot of other companies and creators and developers." He goes on a little later, but you can think about the metaverse as an embodied internet where instead of just viewing content, you're in it and you feel present with other people as if you were in other places having different experiences that you couldn't necessarily do on a 2D app or web page. So, as for the strategy also, he said, "I think all these different initiatives that we have at Facebook today will basically ladder up together in the next 5 years." That's pretty crazy. So let's unpack. There's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with the metaverse, the crazy term that is no different than AR, XR, MR conversations that mean nothing to nobody, but mean everything to investors. What is the metaverse to Victoria?
It is a digital shared space. Just point blank, just to keep it at its simplest form. But the kind of metaverse that Facebook has in mind is the same one that I've been preaching for the last several years, which is what we like to call Web 3.0, an immersive web, where we're going to take this internet that we all know and love, and we are going to turn it up to 11 using these immersive technologies. And what I've also been saying, and mark my words, this is going to happen, a metaverse will be like a website. Everyone is going to have their own website, aka their own metaverse, which is their own little virtual house in this immersive internet that people could come in and out, just like in reality. There's going to be portals, doors from one place to another, just like there are links. Same concept, just immersive. And this is what I think Facebook is, know that they're banking on, which is why they're like spending so much money on Oculus, because they know that this is the next evolution of the internet. And we all know how the internet, at least these days, is pretty much running our lives. So imagine in the next 10 to 20 years when the immersive internet comes up, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a completely different ball game, just like it was between now and the 90s.
Yeah. It's confusing because then you've got your separate little metaverses that people call them now, like VR chats and Rec Room, which their own mini self-contained one. One of the points I want to go through a few things Mark was talking about that I really appreciated. I'll actually give him some things that I liked. Is I liked his comments about smartphones on how right now we are so disconnected because we're looking down, and that's not how we are meant to communicate, and I do fully respect that. But I do like how he says that his metaverse, it's not VR only. It's the amalgamation, like you said, of VR, AR, mobile, meaning it could be your cell phone still. It's everything put together, which to me is a much safer, better, constructive. It's overall the way I'd want to communicate with someone, is to have a little bit of everything. But to call VR chat a metaverse, like, yeah, it is. But I don't personally want only that form. You know what I mean? There needs to be, it's everything. To only have myself in a VR headset, it's very, very limiting. But at the same time, it's also confusing because this metaverse word means nothing. It means nothing. Like, it really doesn't. I don't even, you know what it will mean? It'll mean to whoever makes one that customers call it that first. So whatever Facebook or Apple decides is the metaverse will most likely just be that, if they coin that term or whatever. But I'm very confused about what I want to see from it. And even this topic, like, what's up, Alex? It's something that I want to talk about, but it just confuses the hell out of me of what Mark's vision is, because it seems so scattered at the same time. I don't know if you pieced it together better than I could.
Well, first of all, because it is scattered.
It's very scattered.
Right? It's everything is disjointed. There's mobile AR, and then there's projection mapping. You know, there's pass-through AR. You know, there's things like HoloLens. There's all types of AR, and it's all different, and they use different tools, right? VR also, you know, like you could use Unity, you could use Unreal, you could use WebXR. It's a bunch of different tools to build a variety of different things in a variety of different ways, and even mixed reality, right? It's like a sliding scale. I'm in mixed reality right now, you know? It's and this actually does go back to the last time I was on your show, because that's what I've been preaching. Again, like, everything that people are saying now is what I have been preaching out here in Silicon Valley for like the last easily year and a half, if not more. That all of these realities are just going to eventually be layered together in such a way that when you have a true mixed reality headset, you could choose that sliding scale, choose how much virtual, augmented, or mixed you want in your field of view and how much you want to experience. That's why I'm building these layered things, so you could choose. Do you want to do virtual? Do you want to do augmented? Do you want to do mixed? You know, like, what I'm doing is like baby steps and like very shitty prototypes of this, but you know, we're all essentially converging on this same same vision of how these technologies are going to play together within the next decade.
And Mark's used that decade specifically. That's his time frame on when he thinks that it might be possible. Do you think that, or is that a optimistic time frame?
I think 10 years. I've been a video game collector my entire life, and I have seen this evolution, but not as fast as XR. XR, since since Oculus, it has just skyrocketed exponentially. I mean, we have so many advances in such a short amount of time. When these conferences were open out here in Silicon Valley, I'd go to all of them, and every few months, dude, every few fucking months, I would visit the same booths, same company, and what they had advanced in just like 3, maybe 6 months just was mind-blowing. Like, it's just, it really seems like the most passionate, most brilliant people are just banking the future on this technology, so they're not only working in it, but they're just like pushing it to its limits as fast as possible.
I think it's also maybe a reason, and I might be just going off my own thoughts here. It's so real life. It's tough. Like, it's tough. It's a very hard world. Opportunities are there, but they're not easy. You're going to have to work your ass off, and you will need a mix of skills, luck, and just pure commitment to really get to where some people want to get to. It's a tough world. However, if you're a person, and I'm not saying everyone who's accelerating XR to the nth degree is this type, but if you're in a mindset where that's discouraging, you're going to look for alternatives. and the Wild West, the new frontier is ended. You know what I mean? IRL, that's ended. But digitally, it's not even started yet. And I feel like there's a lot
Yeah.
of these people who maybe are moving things at a lightning pace because they see that the min-max, the max of real life, we're getting real close to that. But we bring that ceiling way down and we make the ceiling even higher when you add this new metaverse idea to it. And I think that's why people are rushing into it. They've almost capped out on their upper end, and now they see this race to a whole new ceiling, that they're entirely new possibilities. Things might get easier, more opportunity. It's very heartwarming, and I think that accessibility is a truth. I don't personally think it's a fallacy, but we will see how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
All right, let's go. This one might be a little bit of a quicker topic, but I want to hear some thoughts on the Steam Deck. So the Steam Deck, when it was announced, for those in the chat, if you haven't been following, Steam Deck is Valve's new handheld gaming device. Looks like a Switch beefed up, and it's basically a very, very cost-effective PC in your hands. It really is pretty powerful. When it first was announced, or leaks of a handheld were out there, the VR community picked that up, ran with it. That's Valve Index 2 or something. I think the VR community generally really wants something coming from Valve, which I do too. When it came out, it's pretty obvious right now that it is not designed for VR. However, I want to hear your thoughts on the optimism of how it could be used for VR, if this is something Valve might be digging into, because when you look at the device itself, like a lot of people compare to the Switch. When the Switch came out, it wasn't even new tech. Like it was pretty, I think it was like 3 or 4 year old like components inside that at the time it launched. So like now it's super old. The tech that's coming in the Steam Deck is like a super cost effective PC in your hands. It really is, based on what it could do for the future of making PC VR less tethered to a PC and more handheld. It's possible. If sadly as Bradley is in this chat, I'll bring him up here for sure. He knows everything about this. But what are your thoughts on the Steam Deck and its possible use for VR? Or if Valve is even thinking VR, or if this is just completely a stretch on our community?
I think it's a stretch. I mean, really, if you're gonna have small components for VR, why not just have it in the headset? I think the only thing that might make sense is if they decide to take all of those components out of the headset and put it on there in order to make a very light and comfortable HMD. That, okay, I'll give it to you then. But I mean, who remembers that like Steam controller?
We all do, unfortunately. Not for good reasons.
You know, just saying. Just saying. I
have reserved the Steam Deck, which, by the way, it is ever since that stupid thing launched. Because I'm not going to pick it up because I don't think the camera can reach it. But the Steam Deck and the Stream Deck, I swear to God, I can do no research without having to autocorrect every time. What a stupid name they picked. But
oh my God, I know.
It's I don't understand. Good luck on your SEO, Valve. Really good job on that one. But I'm gonna read this comment real quick. Yeah, Killer, you're not wrong. Killer Meme says that it does meet the bar for being able to run VR games in some capacity, more than a lot of people seem to think of, which is true. It is true, but my concern is that Valve specifically said that they had no intention of this being used for VR, which, regardless of their intentions, people find a will, people have a will, find a way to use it for that. But it concerns me that they didn't think about it at all. I don't know what their game plan is for VR. I want them more involved. I want a Valve headset. It's the headset I use daily. But I'm glad you at least had the confidence to say the Steam Deck was a little bit of fluff from the community, because I can't say that. I want to read a few.
Whatever.
I know, right?
I'm a dev, and I'm in the shadows for the most part, so.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But what I do, here's the real big topic for me, before we get into the one you and I spoke about beforehand, which we'll try to navigate those waters. Lone Echo 2 being the last PCVR exclusive funded by Facebook. So, of course, how do you think that headline's going to be spun, Victoria?
I don't know how it's gonna be spun, but I could give you my personal opinion on it.
I'd love to hear that.
Duh. They friggin' discontinued the Rift. Like, what do you expect?
Yes.
Like, they're putting all of their effort towards the Quest and having an all-in-one 6 DOF easy-to-use unit. Like, they've made that commitment. So it would only make sense that they're going to kind of cut off making Rift-only games.
Yes.
What I can see them doing in the future is having a lightweight version for the Quest, but then getting like a really, really hefty version for your PC, right? And you could either buy like them both at once, or you could do like Beat Saber, where you like buy one for the Quest and then buy one for the PC. Like, it really is up to, you know, the developer's discretion. But I mean, come on, like, this is, what do you expect?
Yes, but my frustration and where I come from in the story is that it's very similar to the review bombing headline. You put these headlines out and they're spun initially negative, or they are negative in tone. Again, Upload VR posted the article about this being their last PC VR funded title. Never mentioned it was negative. Upload VR did a very good job with that article on staying in the middle ground. But the headline itself is going to come off immediately negative. And if you go to any comments on Reddit, anything, PCVR is dead. There's your headline. That's all you could. They could have typed 100 words. All anyone had to read, 100-word title, and all anyone read was last PCVR title. TLDR, PCVR is dead. Like, that's all it is. But that's not the story. That's not the story.
No.
It's not.
No.
It's that Facebook just doesn't want to get into PCVR right now. Their bread and butter is in mobile. They're selling units left and right. They're trying to get ahead of everyone. Well, they already did get ahead of everyone else, and now they're trying to make it so they aren't even playing the same game anymore. Until Apple or Microsoft comes in, they're playing a different game than anyone else is playing. But it doesn't mean PCVR is dead. In fact, the more people I speak with that buy Quest 1 and Quest 2s, it piques their curiosity. They are buying PCs. They're buying... Some PCs can run games that you don't expect that they could run. Like, some of these VR games are pretty well optimized that a really shitty PC can run at a reasonable frame rate. You might only get 60 to 72, but you'll run it. But I'm seeing, yes, PCVR is dead kind of to Facebook right now. But PCVR is going to be alive and kicking. Every single person who gets into VR will eventually educate themselves and graduate from a mobile mindset to wanting something bigger. Developers are still going to need to make it. Money's still going to need to be there to incentivize them doing it. So that's a different conversation. But to say that PCVR is dead, no, it's not. It's just a little of a grand reset. And that would be my pitch for the story. PCVR is not dead. It's just the grand resets. But PCVR users will be made and will come from an Oculus Quest 2. It's just going to happen. I don't know. I don't think that's super... spicy of a topic, but it seems to be spicy when all you hear is PCVR is dead.
You know how people are. They like a good juicy headline. It's just, people are just looking for some emotion in their lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't you hate that? It's almost more lately. It's more about the story than anything else. It's almost like privacy. Like, no one really cares about privacy. There's your spicy take. You care about it, but how many companies in the past 5 years have had huge privacy concerns, and how much have we done anything to fix them? But the story behind them is fun. That's what we care about. I'm not defending all that bullshit. Like, yeah, the privacy concerns are real. But at the end of the day, the story is what we care about. So the story right now is PCVR is dead because it's Facebook's last PCVR title. But that's the story, not reality. The reality is PCVR is alive and kicking. There's plenty of developers that we speak to behind the scenes that are making some real dope shit. They might be coming out in 2 to 3 years. Like, guys, it might not be soon. But there's some real dope shit being made for PCVR right now. They're just getting it right and waiting for the right time. If that's going to pan out for them, who knows? But it's coming. PCVR is not dead. Somebody asked, who was it? I missed the question. Vexner, when do you think Facebook will hit 90% VR hardware on Steam? I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they'll have 90% on Steam. I think someone, by the time it gets even closer to 50%, if it does get that far, there'll be another manufacturer by then. Someone will jump in. What do you think, Victoria?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of smaller manufacturers right now, especially in China. Well, not to say that they're small in China, but there's
Hmm.
definitely a lot more out there. They're just not as popular and oftentimes not available overseas, but they're
Yes.
there and
Yes.
eventually they're coming our way.
Yes.
Um, I feel like within the next 5 years, Oculus and the Quest are going to have some competition.
I'm glad you brought the overseas stuff because unfortunately we'll never see it probably for a while, and I hate that geographical lines dictate our world dynamics. They are imaginary lines on a piece of paper and drastically change the world, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Pico Neo 3, guys, it's a Quest. Like it's literally made at the same exact facility as the Quest. The people who own the factory make the Quest, make the Pico Neo. It is the same exact fucking headset, but geographical lines don't allow us to use it.
Yep.
Now, it's not talked about. Like, that's not brought up a lot, but a lot of these headsets are built at the exact same location. So when you see something that looks like a Quest clone, it's not a Quest clone, it's literally a clone, but geographical lines dictate what we have and what they have. Eventually, these lines will break. Eventually, those things will make it over here, and you'll have your competition, or at least alternatives. Competition might be the wrong word because they still need to have a solid storefront, software, catalog, all like that, but hardware-wise, there will be competition. I know you're excited.
Yeah, I am. Okay, so the reason why I ducked down under my desk, you probably can't see it because I'm keying out green in my scene right now, but I actually have a Pico bracelet that I've been wearing for the last maybe like 5 years now. And the reason why I wear it is because on it has their logo and it says Pico, but it says a new reality. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that phrase is important to me. Um, and I just wanted to bring that out since we're talking about the Pico, and I actually do believe in the Pico, and I feel like eventually when they are able to be released out here,
Yeah.
Quest again, stiff competition.
I'll be looking out for I mean obviously everyone in the chat knows it, but I know Thrill Seeker I think actually got access to a Pico. And
Sick.
I will be waiting. I will be waiting patiently for that video to come out. I'm very excited to see his thoughts on it. Um, Obviously, there's limited things he'll be able to do with it. I'm assuming due to the restrictions, but yeah, there's competitors out there. There really are. We just can't get them. That's all it is. They are all building these headsets at the exact same facility, guys. It's the exact same headset.
Yeah.
It frustrates me to no end. Oh
Mm.
man. But one thing I want to bring up, guys, in the chat, and this will be a subject that I do want to take seriously, but we also need to keep it a little lighthearted because it's YouTube and they will block this video if we get too hard into it. But I do want to make a quick comment on Activision and Blizzard. I'm a little concerned with how it's already disappeared from my Twitter feed, like completely. No one's talking about it anymore. It's a big deal. For those who don't know the story, just picture a bunch of assholes doing really terrible stuff at work. I don't want to get into the details because it's really, really, really awful stuff. And if you want to read into it, you can do that in your own time. But my question, Victoria, to try to make this proactive, is this something we're seeing in VR right now, in VR workspace? I'm not going to ask specific people, but being a woman in gaming, can you give us a TLDR, tangible and understandable point here?
Okay, see, I have a lot to say about
I know you do.
um and so I'm just gonna preface it really quickly. I was sexually assaulted by someone at Ubisoft. I don't want to talk about what happened. I just want to say I've experienced this myself as someone who loves and has lived for video games. So this is something that's very important to me. And I want to first talk about the traditional video game industry and then move on to XR because I think that unless we discuss the first part, we can't really discuss the future. So I'm sure all of you have heard of something called toxic gamer culture. All of those death threats, all of those FAG bombs, all of those, like racist comments, the N-words when you're trying to play a first-person shooter, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what happens. Those people, just like me, they were sad. They found their escape and they found solace in video games. And they used video games as their escape. They became bitter due to pain, and then they turned it outward onto the world, and then they lashed out in these ways. And because the world has objectively gotten a lot more difficult socially for a lot of people, there are more and more people who have started to feel this way and have started to demonstrate these behaviors. And again, much like me, they love video games. They make it their life's mission to make video games too. So what happens? These same toxic gamers then turn into toxic game developers. And then the cycle just kind of continues on and continues on and continues on. Okay? And I say this as both a gamer and a game developer. I have seen the cycle. I have seen the stages. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality, right? And frankly, I saw it happen back when I was running Miami's first video game convention, but back then it was relegated to just, you know, the annals of 4chan B, R9K V, you know. It was a small group, but over time, it's grown larger and larger and larger. So much so that people that I know play games and love games and have huge video game collections themselves refuse to call themselves gamers, because the toxic gamer culture has become so prevalent that now just the word gamer itself reminds people of toxic gamer culture. So one way that I feel from the bottom of my heart and my bones is we need to outnumber them. These people, I implore you, if you like games and you play games and you're one of these people who just does not want to call yourself a gamer, please don't leave me. Don't leave us. We need you. We need to outnumber them. Because we really, listen, like, we could put fucking rules. You know, we could do all this crap, but really, people don't like rules. People are just gonna, with the rules, right? You kind of need to make them a kind of a smaller minority and let more and more people who are not racist, not misogynist, don't swat people, right? Try to let us all kind of come in and make things better. And I'm not here trying to take away anyone's games. Good Lord. No, 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 no. I do not want to take anyone's games. I do not want to take away a thing from the games that you love at all. If anything, I just want to make more games and just add to that stack. I want more games. The more games in this world, the better. Please, for the love of God, that's what I want. But at the same time, we really need to be cognizant of our actions and our inactions as well. And jumping ahead again to XR, yes, it has happened in XR, and yes, it happens more often than I'd like to admit. However, the key difference here is that, as we've discussed many times in the past, this is still nascent. This is still a brand new industry for all intents and purposes. We still have the opportunity to kind of like steer the boat, right? We're so early, we can steer it in another direction, right? And that's not to say that it's a blank slate, because for the love of God, it is not. XR still carries all of that baggage from the last 50 years, you know? But we are in a very, very special and key place where time matters. This is the time. If we want to make XR a better and safer place than the pancake electronic entertainment of yore, then we need to start taking action now. That's why I'm a dev now. That's why I've chosen to build for XR, among a lot of other reasons. But that's a really large reason. I want to try to kind of push that that ball in a different direction, right? I want to make XR safer, and I want XR to be the betterment of humanity. So I think that the only thing that we could do is we need to take it upon ourselves to actually actively make the space better, because no one else will. And if we don't, the other people, they're going to take it over because they know what's coming. And the last thing you want is a toxic VR gamer coming at you in VR chat. Because I've had it happen to me, and that sucks.
Yeah. So it's a tough subject. I'm not going to weigh in. I'm just not. Really got no point to make that I think is any bit value added to this discussion. But I appreciate you sharing that. The main point of bringing up this topic, guys, is it's horrible what is being alleged happened over there. I'll use that word because I got to keep myself safe here. The alleged things that have happened over there, it's disgusting. It's horrible. If you see something or hear something, just voice it up, guys. I expect my community to be better. There's no assumptions that anyone in here's the problem, that anyone's doing anything. I'm just expecting, like, my crew, if you're on my squad and you're a part of my tribe, if you see something with overwhelming force, you will correct it. Like, that might be the wrong word. I might not want to say overwhelming force, but I do mean, like, inherently in my body and my bones, I mean overwhelming force. If you see something, my tribe takes care of people. That's all that matters. So that's what I want to get into. Thank you for sharing that, Victoria. And thank you to the chat for listening to that. It's important. And I hope the news... I will be staying on this topic because I hate how it's getting silent already. But let's switch. Let's flip it. Let's flip it real quick. Right? What's making you happy in VR right now, Victoria? Let's end it on that topic.
Making me happy in VR right now.
Right now.
Epic bought Sketchfab.
Wait, what?
Epic bought.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it. What's your thoughts on that? That's because I'll be honest. I don't know. I'm a little on the outside looking in on this topic, but I'm very curious what's going on, the importance of that.
So I love Sketchfab. I use Sketchfab as my 3D art portfolio. I actually have a paid account. That's how much I love Sketchfab. And the significance of this is that you could import any Sketchfab 3D object into Epic's, into Unreal Engine. And that's just fucking awesome, dude. Like, and it's not even relegated to your own. Granted, like, I haven't used it, it's not out yet, but obviously if you're going to be using these APIs, you're going to be able to purchase other people's right in engine. So you're going to be able to have this ancillary library of 3D assets that are made by people like you and I. So, Unreal engineers and artists could just pay us tiny little, 3D artists for our work and have essentially some of our work used in a game. I mean, how cool is that? To just put up a 3D object on your Sketchfab account because you want to either sell it for a couple bucks or you want to showcase it to your friends, and then, oh my god, suddenly this thing is in a AAA game. What? Who knows? Like, it could be...
It's that whole accessibility we talked about. You just opened up a whole nother portal for a creator economy, for accessibility, for bridging that gap between distance. That's all we're doing. Like, that's the biggest thing that I love about XR, and fuck that term too, but I'll use it. It's just like decreasing the distance between A and B. For whatever the purpose is, you are decreasing, just like the internet did, but now the distance not only is down, but what you can do now in that distance is exponentially different than what you could do with just the internet. It's an amazing technology. I cannot wait to see what the next 10 years bring. Like, Mark might be saying 10 years. In 5, I'm going to expect radical changes. I mean, we're already seeing them now with the Quest going like AR capable. I'm gonna put big quotes on AR capable, but I mean, we used to what? How much were an AR dev kit back in the day? Or still are, like thousands and thousands and thousands. And now, technically, the Oculus Quest 2 is a $299 AR dev kit to a degree. That's insane. What what somebody's going to be able to create with that isn't anything right now exponential. I think we need color pass through first of all, color cameras, but someone could start working on something rudimentary now that they never had the ability to do with $1,000 dev kits. That person could be 13 years old right now getting the first headset. Yeah. What are they going to be like at 26, at 30? Those are the people who are going to be building our future. It's really heartwarming. I really enjoy it.
Yes.
But that is the hour mark, guys. I want to keep the news videos pretty short. Anything you want to sign off with, Victoria?
I really got nothing. Just, I friggin' love this space. I love this stuff. This stuff is awesome, and every day it just gets better, and I'm just really excited to be here. What a time to be alive!
Seriously, it really is, guys. That's like the biggest thing lately. It's just really fun to see how things are progressing. It's gonna be really fun to do more of these types of videos and these higher concepts. I would just urge you in the chat, like, whatever news story you see, read it at face value, and then read it 10 more times at what the next interesting concept is. Because almost every headline that we're getting right now that you have a negative feeling about right away has like 10 more repercussions down the road of something interesting, a different way to think. That's really what I've been looking into, and it's been getting me very excited. If you missed anything in this stream, the link's at the pinned comment. I put it in the chat a few times. I'll be putting all the good bits of this on the Eric Present Clips channel. It's more watchable, easily digestible, especially for time zones and you missed it. But that would be the biggest way to support this channel, because this stream will be... It was already demonetized before we even started it, because I put the word bombed in it by accident. I guess that was enough. Oops, whatever. I don't care. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Victoria, thank you for sharing some of the harder topics we went into and humoring me on some of the others. Everyone in the chat, much love. And as always, we'll see you next time, Space Cowboys. Peace.